NSFW. What's the best true story you can tell me about your life? I've told this story before, but here we go. When I was younger, a hermit crab latched onto my hand at a friend's house. His mom was idiots. We couldn't get it off, so she called 911. The police came, sprayed the hermit crab with pepper spray, and it died. Edit, typo. I had sex with a lady who works for Fox News. She is just some low-level producer or something. But I porked her. Tomorrow's lead story on Fox News, we investigate Reddit. Is it full of assholes who pretend they love you and then make fun of you behind your back? My grandpa ran into my mom's elementary school friend over the summer. Turns out that she married the GM of Intel in Beijing, China. After some chit-chat, the GM said that he's looking for an intern to stay with them for the upcoming summer. Now I'm flying to Beijing in June. I thought that my girlfriend at the time would break up with me if I came into her mouth. So when she didn't stop giving me head when I telling her I was about to come, I decided to scream, "Do you ducking want AIDS?" so she'd stop. That in the zone logic. I then promptly came into her mouth. My school inadvertently showed the entire second grade softcore pornography. Let me explain this a bit more in depth. This was 1998. For some reason the entire second grade had to be educated about sexual molestation, rather than show a video or even go on a dial-up website. The school puts on a play. As you probably have guessed, the play was about sexual molestation and how to tell an adult. It involved two college grads in bare costumes acting out different scenarios. As soon as the play starts, these two obviously homosexual grad students dressed in sweaty bare suits walk out on stage and start to demonstrate molestation in an age-appropriate way. One grad picks up the other one and starts fondling the dude through the costume. Not fake fondling either. Like full-on dude-on-dude groping. It gets worse. Both of them are moaning very feminine moans quite loudly and are obviously getting hot and heavy on stage. The principal rushes on stage while the teachers try and herd up the kids. Kids are crying, laughing, and it's total ducking chaos at this point. Principal manages to break up the love fest on stage as we head back to class very confused. Needless to say, we didn't learn about sexual molestation that day. There was this amazing, beautiful, funny girl at my work. She agreed to go out with everyone for drinks. Eventually it was just her and I going out after work. I was in love with this girl. She had all the qualities I was looking for in a woman and loved spending time with her. We'd stay up all night laughing, having a great time. I thought I missed my chance when she started seeing a buddy of mine, but that fizzled out. I finally worked up the courage to tell her I really liked her. She told me she felt the same way and we began dating officially. We've been dating for about 4 months and I love this girl and she loves me. I haven't been this happy in a very long time. She'll be here in about 10 minutes. Got to go Reddit. I was 16 and this hurricane was coming in. Just got my license. So I took my girlfriend to an amusement park. No lines. I rode my first roller coaster. We went back to her house and laid in her yard to watch the storm finally hit land. I'd never seen something like this before. So it was crazy. I watched all these lights and colors and was like, I think I love you. Ick now. She said it back. We kept dating for years. I appreciate all those memories. But laying in the grass and watching a massive storm come in. There's nothing else like that. A storm like that is everything. Sight, smell, touch, hearing. That storm ducked our houses up, but watching it come in was surreal. I really wasn't even mad, but I was a teen. I'd likely be ruined if I were an adult. Took our homes, but goddamn what a sight. I was probably in 11th grade. Around 2006-7. I was in my room, studying. And at that exact moment, my cell phone beeps, a message received. My watch beeped to signify that it was some hour. The doorbell rang. The landline phone started to ring. The lights in my room flickered. And by the exact moment, I mean exact same millisecond. I was so ducking thrilled by how awesome it was. But I was home alone and not many people believed me. When I was in high school I was sent to the psych ward because life sucked and I was depressed or something. While in there I started talking to a girl and we began flirting every day at lunch or whatever free time. Sheet was cash. I was a chubby nerd. Hot girl flirts? Yes please. Fast forward a few days. We are sitting in a room with a TV and booklets on Drew Gus and Sheet. It was the two of us and this Jewish chick. I say that because I never learned her name. Just that she was of the Hebrew persuasion, was sprawled out on a couch reading one. Hot skinny girl turns to me. Hey Sigma quotient. Want me to suck your big dick? Now I have never had a sexual experience before so I'm blown away. Heh. I'm making all sorts of excuses like, the doctors are like 3 rooms away. Or here? There might be cameras. This is a psych ward. Now. I know what you're thinking and you're wrong. Maybe. The Jewish girl turns to me with an exasperated look and says just let her suck your big dick. I'll look out for the doctors. So. I'm stuck between crazy and a hard place. Yup. So this chick proceeds to blow me while the Jewish girl, who didn't look out for doctors at all, just watched. So I got out of there and kept in touch for a bit. That got lost when I went to college. TLDR, got locked up in the psych ward as a high school kid for being depressed. Chick blew me while Jewish girl watched. Wasn't depressed after that. Should sell story to Japan for anime. My friend went overseas like year after 9/11. I knew he was returning due to back injuries. But he didn't know I knew this. I drove to his house a few days after he got back and rang his bell. His girlfriend answered and said he couldn't come to the door and I said just tell him I'm here. That's cheesy. How'd we are best friends. He came to the door and hugged me so big. We cried. And he said man I never thought I would see you again and I believe that. His stories he told me are wild. We went out and bought some meat and beer and he bought a new grill. We chilled out having beers and steaks. We had a blast. I used to regularly co-host a local sports radio show in New Orleans. WBOK 1230 AM. White House Sir Master Chef Ronnie Seaton would play the station over the speakers in the White House kitchen while his team cooked for First Family. And one day in particular, Michelle and Barack Obama were present. And she said to Sir Seaton that I have a very good sounding voice. Didn't know who I was. Of course. But when he was about to retire, he came to a live remote I was running. Recognized my voice and told me the story. Kinda minor. But kinda not. How many people get paid a compliment from a first lady? Even indirectly. I made $80,000 in a week in the stock market last March. Yay for taxes. Probably not my best story. But, I had a friend who was a member of this really crazy cult. One day he offered me an invitation to go to a meeting. I went. Not knowing the true extent of this group. The meeting was held within a cave at a completely empty beach. The sky was dark and grey, with thunderclouds rolling across the great expanse. Candlelight flickered across the jagged walls of the cave. Inside, about 15 men and women were reading from this leather-bound book, chanting softly. My friend led me in, giving me a reassuring smile. I watched as one woman took up a knife and started carving twisting symbols into her own flesh, while others painted themselves with these runes. The next few hours were spent with them cutting themselves and praying to these ducked up crazy gods of theirs. Suffice to say, I avoided that friend from then on. Oh. I also had a drunken sword fight once. Got stabbed by another friend and rushed to hospital. When I was younger I was asked to be the best man at my best friend's wedding. The night before the wedding a bunch of us decided to get epically drunk. I ended up staying up all night drinking and using some other party favors and just didn't stop. By the time the actual ceremony started I was so beyond out of it that a replacement best man had to sub in for me. Honestly don't even remember who filled in, and I was seated in the front pew. About 30 minutes into the ceremony I started violently vomiting and collapsed to the floor. I had to be carried outside. I caught a second wind about midway through the reception and proceeded to make great use of the open bar. I danced and made a ton of noise and got into a few ridiculous arguments. I haven't spoken to him or his wife since. If you're out there, I'm sorry, Eric. Edit, spelling. I was horny and in college and met this girl through a friend from work. I wasn't that into her, but she was kinda cute. Super short, 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and pretty chill. She mentioned that she was technically a midget. So I figured one for the bucket list because I'm an asshole. Our first date was to a party in the desert where we were one of about a dozen people with full hearing out of at least 100. That night I learned that there's such a thing as drunken slurring in sign language, back then. Everybody just took out their sidekick phones and typed it out instead. And how to sign. Will you make me a hamburger? Later that night, 2 of the kids got into an argument and began to duke it out. Suddenly, they just stop fighting. One picks up the light hooked up to the generator around the site and they both start searching the ground. Turns out, during the scuffle, one of them lost their hearing aid. Apparently some things are just more important. I drank till the morning and smoked copious amounts, then got laid. I miss college. I went to Mexico and got really drunk and took some ecstasy. Went to a packed bar on a Friday night. Literally saw one of the most beautiful girls in my life. Like holy shit levels. The kind of hot that would make me itch out in a heartbeat. Literally just walked up to her and pulled her in like we were about to kiss. And then just said, "Let me get a drink." Finish said drink. Return to dance floor. She is at the top of a staircase and gives me the come over here gesture with her finger. Climb this staircase in front of this whole bar. And just start making out to the cheers of everyone below. I didn't even know her name yet. We make out for hours and exchange numbers. Turns out she was on ecstasy too. We had sex the next day. Not too awesome of a story. But that night just played out like the perfect college movie. This was a while ago, but here we go. It was my job to water the plants in the house once a week. Now that we are past the context, here's the story. My mom recently got some new plants. This one with only leaves. One with like flowers and crap. You get me. Week after week I'm watering their plants and not thinking much of it. A few months go by and I'm doing my rounds when my mom catches me watering that all leaf plant and asks me, "What are you doing, abracadabra?" Up. You know, watering the plants. That one's fake. Oh. Last May I went alone to Hanoi and was set to depart from Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. 3 weeks later, I bought a motorcycle and drove the country. Along the way I had the pleasure of meeting some truly amazing people. Foreign and native. 3 of which, 2 Germans and a French Canadian, joined me on my trip. We were a tight little crew. We got into some tough spots but were brothers by the end. 3 weeks later we arrived in Ho Chi Minh. Sold our motorcycles to other foreigners making the opposite journey. And said goodbye. I went to Vietnam for solitude and adventure. But along the way I found family. Edit. I've included a longer version of my story as a response to this post below. Give it a read if you're interested. Also, I'll answer any questions you guys might have. Hope you enjoy. It was about 2 AM. I was on my route delivering newspapers at the time and I'd had mighty wings for dinner. Anyway, I could sense the call of nature and had to make a decision fast. I was in the middle of a small town in the middle of the night. The closest 24-hour gas station was 10 minutes away and I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I drove all the way down a dead-end street hoping to get as much privacy as possible. Luck was on my side. As I got out, right behind the fence was an opening to a playground with a picnic table and a giant garbage can close by. I sat on the edge of the can, held the sides, put my feet on the picnic table for leverage and let her rip. It was the most painful, smelliest sheets of my life. I wiped my ass with a newspaper and finished my route. I used to gamble every day. One of my first times at a casino while playing blackjack, I got dealt king queen of spades. I made a bet with my friend who busted that I would hit and get the ace of spades. The dealer and the whole table begged me not to do it. I hit ace of spades. Felt like God for a moment before losing everything I had on me that night. My father speaks German and Swedish with his parents. My mother speaks Russian with her parents. But my sister and I can only speak English with the paternal grandparents. And Chinese with the maternal grandparents. In high school I was with this chick, not dating, just with, and we used to duck in nearby park before school. One day we were going at it in the park and she starts freaking out and kicking her legs. A dog came up and started sniffing my ass while I was doing my thing. Then the owners walked by, took the dog and left us. I had a chance meeting with an old friend turn into the worst day of my life. A buddy of mine who was once a college football player with a very bright future invited me over to catch up over a few sessions of NBA 2K. I agreed. Everything was fine. It was the second quarter and I was winning by 12 points. Boom. A flashbang had been tossed through his patio door and 5 seconds later SWAT burst into his house. I had 2 officers point assault rifles at the back of my head. Turns out my good friend had started dealing drugs. After being cuffed and taken down to the interrogation room, I ended up telling officers that I had recently graduated from college and had just received an offer to work for a governmental agency making $27 per hour. I did this in hopes they would understand that I was caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Instead they called and got the entire offer taken away from me. Worst day of my ducking life. I am now a college graduate struggling to find a decent job. Just applied for welfare last week. Yeah. I once had to do a software installation on an icebreaker. I flew out to the coast, caught a twin otter at an Air Force base and flew 1,000 km north. And then I got picked up by a helicopter and flown out to sea for an at-sea landing on the icebreaker. Then I discovered I had left one of the installation discs behind at the office. When I was 16 I had a girlfriend, also 16, whose parents owned a resort in Belize. They said I could stay there. All I had to do was buy a ticket out there. I saved up my money all summer. Got a passport. But 2 weeks before it was time to go, instead of buying the ticket, I bought computer parts. TLDR, I gave up a week of underage sex in a tropical resort for computer parts. So my dad is an asshole. But the kind of asshole you want to hang out with. That being said, some of his behavior when I was growing up was uncomfortable. Example, when I was a sophomore in high school I brought a girl home for dinner. In the middle of the meal my dad starts poking her with his fork. She stared at me freaked out. "Dad, what are you doing?" I asked. "Just making sure this one wasn't a blow up doll." "Thanks, Pop." He also walked in on me and another girl having sex. Later that night at dinner it was silent. You could literally hear a pin drop. Finally the silence was broken by my dad saying to my mom, "Well, at least we know he's not gay." Thanks, Pop. Edit, spelling. I was in a rut in my life and though getting a dog would help me be more active and help me feel better. So I looked and found a 4-week-old Siberian Husky that I loved. I went and looked at her and totally loved her. She was a little crazy, haha. So I called my so-called best friend at the time, who was also my ex. I am not a smart man for this, and told her I got a new husky puppy. She told me I was an idiot and how dumb I was for getting her and said, "You can barely take care of yourself, how can you take care of a dog?" A few months after I severed all ties with her. Was the greatest time of my life, I felt free. Along the same time my husky puppy, about 6 months old at this time, decided that rocks are delicious and wanted to eat a few. So after a $1,400 surgery my puppy had a 12-inch incision in her belly and was feeling much better. At this time I posted a pic of her on Facebook with a cone of shame and a comment about her rock eating. I haven't posted on Facebook in months at this time, but I felt she was such a cute dog and needed some attention. I get a message shortly after this on Facebook from a girl I haven't talked to in about 5 years. She starts talking about my dog and how cute she is. We hit it off really well and start dating. And 8 months later my husky and I move in with her, and 3 months about that I ask her to marry me. Next week will be our 1-year anniversary. It has been the best year of my life. I cannot wait to spend the rest of my life with her. All because my dog ate a few rocks. PS. She had 3 more surgeries after the first one. My husky isn't very smart. I have a bunch. But I went to the movies in Alaska with Ashton Kutcher in summer 2013. I live here and was working for a limo company at the time. We were hired to drive him, his friend, and their dads to the airport and escort them to their gate. I was 18 years old and I'm a girl, so I begged my boss to let me tag along with the driver. He agreed. So we picked them up and got them to the airport. But their flight was delayed. So my boss got the dads on an earlier flight, but Ashton and his friend were stuck for a little bit. So they took us to the movies. I remember it vividly. It was World War Z and he paid. It was so delightful.